as disgraced music mogul Sean Diddy Combs prepares to appear in court for a third bail hearing, new disturbing allegations against him are surfacing. This week, 5 new lawsuits have been filed, and we'll take a closer look at these claims and their potential impact on Diddy's federal case. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Well, when it comes to Sean Diddy Combs, the lawsuits just keep on coming. And
Texas lawyer Tony Busby has filed 5 new lawsuits in federal court this Tuesday, bringing some of the most shocking allegations yet against the embattled rapper Sean Diddy. Combs, the accusations, which come from both men and women, including some teenagers, allege that Combs attacked them in various ways. Some of the alleged victims are in their late 30s, and the claims span incidents that reportedly took place in New York and Miami, 2 cities where Combs has lived and worked for years. These new allegations are just as disturbing as those we've heard in the past. Busby, who has already filed numerous lawsuits against Combs, claims to represent over 100 alleged victims. To provide context, Combs is facing serious criminal charges stemming from a grand jury indictment in the Southern District of New York. These charges include racketeering, conspiracy, transportation to engage in prostitution, and sex trafficking. Prosecutors allege that Combs used his influence as the head of Bad Boy Records, along with his wealth and power, to host freak-off old days, elaborate sexual orgies involving illegal drugs, male prostitutes, coercion, and force. There were even reports of entire camera setups for these events. The government contends that Combs would go to any lengths, legal or illegal, to satisfy his sexual desires. Combs was arrested in New York in September and has been detained at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn ever since. His defense team is fighting to secure his release and will be making their 3rd attempt to secure bail, this time in front of Judge Arun Subramanian.
we're actually going to be doing a whole separate episode that's coming out tonight, too, on what you can expect from that bail hearing. And also, we're going to cover that live for you on Friday on Law and Crime as well. You can check it out on our YouTube page.
As we know, Sean Diddy Combs is not only facing criminal charges, but also a growing number of civil lawsuits. The floodgates seem to open after his ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, filed a bombshell lawsuit accusing him of a decade of physical, mental, and sexual abuse. Although Combs denied the allegations, he settled the lawsuit with Cassie the very next day. Following that, a wave of new lawsuits emerged, with multiple individuals coming forward to describe a starkly different side of the celebrity mogul. While Combs appeared to be everyone's favorite rapper, making guest appearances on talk shows and in TV shows and movies, these accusers allege he was, behind the scenes, a ruthless criminal. On Tuesday, attorney Tony Busby filed 5 more complaints, all sharing a disturbing common theme with previous lawsuits. These new claims focus on Combs' alleged drug use, with victims accusing him of lacing drinks with substances like GHB or ecstasy, which he and his associates allegedly used to drug unsuspecting victims at parties and auditions. The complaints also accused Combs and his associates, including his bodyguards, of participating in forced sexual acts. These lawsuits have been filed anonymously against Combs as well as his companies, such as Bad Boy Entertainment and Bad Boy Productions.
Now, before I get into this, I have to stress something. Combs has always denied any wrongdoing or criminal activity, okay? He and his attorneys have said that if anything sexual did happen, it was consensual.
It's important to remember that Combs has not been found liable or guilty in a court of law yet. The argument could be made that while these actions might seem strange or unsettling to us, engaging in such freak-off sessions isn't necessarily illegal on its own.
By the way, with stories like this, our content, these Diddy allegations, I think it just goes to show you how important personal safety is. And I don't know if you think about it a lot, but do you know where that becomes especially important? Protecting your privacy online. I think you'd be shocked at how much of your personal information is actually out there.
Have you ever wondered why you get so many spam calls and emails? It's because your address and phone number are likely public information. Now, regarding the accusations in this first lawsuit, I have to tell you that they are
so disturbing that there's just some of this complaint I'm not going to get into. That's actually with respect to, I think, the other lawsuits too. Certain details I'm just not going to share, but I do have to talk about certain details. It's important to know what we're saying. It's important to know what the people are saying, why they're saying it, and what the protections are under the law. So with that caveat, let's go into this. Now,
one of the latest lawsuits comes from a John Doe residing in Texas. According to the complaint, in the late 90s and early 2000s, the plaintiff was an actor who frequently traveled across the United States for auditions and roles in both stage and screen productions. In October 2001, after learning about a role as a police officer in a music video, the plaintiff exchanged phone calls with a female casting director in New York. He then traveled to Manhattan to meet with her in person.
Now, we don't know John Doe's age at the time he says he met Sean Combs, but we know that he was an adult.
We've also mentioned other lawsuits in which individuals claim they were sexually assaulted or drugged while auditioning for Sean Combs, sometimes even as children. It's important to keep that context in mind.
But going back to this lawsuit, so John Doe goes to New York. He goes to a hotel near Central Park, and it's there where he meets up with someone appearing to be Sean Combs' bodyguard or an assistant of some kind.
The lawsuit also details John Doe's background, including his fitness routines. When Combs arrives, he reportedly asks John Doe about himself and his trip to New York, specifically inquiring if he's there alone, meaning whether he had any friends with him. John Doe responded that he was alone. And take a moment to process that, because according to the allegations, Combs then gave John Doe a once-over and said, "He'll do."
A very ominous statement, given what the plaintiff says happened next, because the complaint reads,
Once the plaintiff sat back down, the casting director offered him an alcoholic drink, which he declined. She then offered him a Diet Coke in a glass, which he drank, but he noted that it tasted strange. It was at that point that the plaintiff realized the casting director was the only woman in the room. The conversation continued about the music video and the shooting schedule, but as time went on, the plaintiff began to feel dizzy and nauseous. He asked to use the bathroom, feeling as though he might pass out. Shortly after, he did indeed pass out. Based on information and belief, Combs, either personally or through his agents or employees, had previously laced the plaintiff's drink with drugs, including but not limited to GHB and/or ecstasy.
That theme of alleged drugging is a constant through line in both the criminal allegations and the civil allegations. And we have to warn you that this next part is incredibly tough. The complaint reads,
The plaintiff regained consciousness in a semi-conscious, disoriented state, still feeling dizzy and nauseous. As he tried to make sense of his surroundings, he realized he was lying face down across a large ottoman, with his head and arms hanging off one side and his lower body off the other. His pants were pulled down to his ankles, and his shirt was pulled over his head. He felt intense pain, and, when he looked back, he realized he was being assaulted by Combs. Although his vision was blurry, he recognized Combs's chest tattoo and the large gold chain with a jeweled cross that Combs had worn during their earlier encounter. The plaintiff attempted to fight back, but he felt dizzy and sick with each movement. Additionally, Combs's bodyguard was holding the plaintiff down by his arms.
John Doe then describes further alleged assaults in graphic detail, claiming multiple men raped him that day. He says he could hear other people in the room laughing and talking, believes that he saw camera flashes at one point.
John Doe claims that he passed out multiple times before finally regaining control of his body and managing to get up. The complaint states that, feeling embarrassed and violated, he tried to cover himself up and began searching for his clothes. Once he found his pants, shirt, and shoes, he ran for the door, leaving behind his underwear and a prized possession, a commemorative leather jacket he had received for working as a stuntman on the film RoboCop. He never saw that jacket again. As he rushed out, he reportedly heard someone near the door laugh and say, "Hope you had fun." The doorman then assisted him in getting a cab, and he returned to his hotel room, where he vomited and cried throughout the night, overwhelmed by the trauma of what had just happened. He feared not only the disbelief of others, but also potential retaliation from the perpetrator if he told anyone. In the aftermath of the assault, he struggled with intense emotional pain and mental health issues, feeling disgusted and deeply depressed. This all has had a significant impact on his personal life, and he has never married. He often struggles to maintain relationships due to the emotional scars left by the experience.